The desert sun hung heavy in the sky, turning the world into a blur of gold and heat. Captain Rylan walked slowly through the dusty road of an old frontier town, each step sending small clouds of sand into the air. The place looked dead. Too dead. Broken fences, half-buried wheels, and old wooden houses stood silent as if they had been waiting for someone who never returned. Rylan stopped in the middle of the road and listened. Nothing. No animals, no voices. Only the soft crackling sound of heat on dry wood. He felt as if the whole place was holding its breath. He touched the grip of his weapon, just in case. He had traveled across many strange planets, fought many enemies, and survived too many wars. But this place felt wrong the moment he arrived. Something in the air told him he was not welcome. The desert town was supposed to be empty. That's what the mission report said. But Rylan had been a soldier long enough to know that reports were often lies written by people who never left their safe offices. He walked past a broken signboard that once had a name painted on it. The letters were faded now, eaten by time and sand. A water tower stood to the left, leaning like it was tired. Everything around him looked like it had died years ago, but something fresh broke the pattern. Footprints. Rylan knelt beside them. They were small, smooth, and too perfect to be human. There were many of them, maybe 10 or 15, crossing over each other. Some deep, some light, but all recent. Someone or something had been walking here not long ago. Maybe minutes ago. Rylan stood up and scanned the rooftops. His hand moved closer to his holster. For a moment, he thought he saw movement, a shadow, sliding behind a chimney. He blinked. Nothing. But the hair on the back of his neck stood straight. Someone was watching him. He was sure of it. Rylan took a slow breath. "All right," he murmured to himself. "Show yourselves." The wind did not answer. The town stayed silent. But his instincts screamed louder with every step he took. As he walked farther down the road, he noticed something strange. Some of the houses had doors half open, as if the people ran out in a hurry. A cooking pot still rested on a small fire pit. The fire was dead, but the ashes were warm. He touched them. Warm meant recent. He was not alone. Rylan moved carefully now. His boots pressed softly into the sand as he approached the largest building in the town, a long tavern-like structure with swinging doors. One of the doors creaked gently in the wind. He pushed it open and stepped inside. The room smelled of dust and something else. Something sweet. A strange perfume hung in the air. It wasn't human. It wasn't natural. It felt almost hypnotic. Tables were overturned. Chairs lay broken on the floor. A lantern hung from the ceiling by a single rope, swinging slowly as if someone had hit it. Rylan walked deeper inside. His eyes narrowed. That smell again. Sweet, but sharp. Like flowers mixed with metal. He found long strands of red hair on the counter, fresh and smooth, as if they had been brushed recently. He touched them. They felt real, warm, alive. Then he heard it. A soft whisper of movement behind him. Rylan spun around instantly, hand on his weapon, eyes scanning every corner. But the room remained empty. He was sure he heard something. A step, a breath. A shift of weight on the wooden floor. His heartbeat grew louder in his ears. "I know you're here," he said quietly. "I don't want trouble." But the silence that followed felt like a threat. Rylan stepped outside again. The sky above looked the same, but the air felt different, thicker. Heavier, like he had crossed into someone's territory without permission. As he walked farther down the empty street, he noticed more shadows moving at the edges of his vision. Quick, silent, graceful. One on the rooftop. Another behind a barrel. Another near the water tower. Every time he looked directly, the shadow vanished. Rylan was no longer calm. Someone or something had been following him since he entered the town. And whoever they were fast. Too fast. The desert wind finally moved, brushing lightly across his face. That same sweet scent floated with it. This time, stronger. Closer. Raylan tightened his grip on his weapon. "Come out," he said softly. "I'm ready." But the only answer was the whispering of sand, and the feeling of many eyes watching him from the shadows. The desert town felt alive now in a silent and strange way. Captain Rylan walked forward slowly. Every step felt heavier than the last. He could feel many eyes on him, and none of them felt friendly. The soft wind carried that same sweet scent from before. It felt stronger now, like someone was breathing right next to him. Raylan stopped in the middle of the street. He listened. The air shifted behind him like someone had moved. He turned fast. No one was there, but the sand held fresh prints, small prints, soft prints, not human, but shaped like a human foot. It was clear someone had been standing there just seconds ago. Rylan touched the sand. Warm, too warm. Whoever was here was close. Maybe watching him from hiding places he could not see. He felt a strange tension, like he had stepped into a trap without knowing it. The shadows around the buildings shifted again. This time he saw it clearly. A figure with long hair moved behind an old wooden wall. It moved too smooth, too quiet. It was gone before he could blink. Raylan held his breath. His heart thudded in his chest like a warning drum. He walked closer to the building. His boots made soft crunching sounds as they pressed into the sand. The air grew warmer around him. The sweet scent thickened his skin. Tingled. It felt like a presence was wrapping around him, like invisible hands, not attacking, but pulling him deeper into the town. As he stepped into the narrow pathway between two houses, he noticed something carved on the wood, symbols, flowing lines. Beautiful shapes, glowing a soft green color. They pulsed like a heartbeat. Raylan touched one of the symbols. A warm pulse ran up his arm. He pulled his hand back fast. This was not something created by humans. He heard soft footsteps behind him, slow, light, measured. He turned again. Still no one in sight. But he could feel someone close, very close. Like they were hiding just behind the next breath of air. Rylan kept moving, his body tense, his hand near his weapon. Not out yet. He was trained to wait for the right moment. He scanned the rooftops. The shadows moved again. This time more than 1, 3, maybe 4. Moving with perfect balance. Like dancers in the wind, he stepped into the open area near the water tower. The ground here had more footprints. All small, all soft, all recent. He followed them to a wooden porch. The door of the house opened, just a little. A whisper of green light shone from inside. Raylan took one careful step forward. He felt a sudden wave of heat behind him. The sweet scent grew sharp like a warning. He turned slowly, not fast. He did not want to scare whatever was behind him. Shape stood at the edge of the rooftop above him. Tall, slim hair blowing softly in the wind. The figure leaned forward just enough for him to see glowing eyes watching him, green eyes bright like emerald fire. Before he could speak, the figure vanished into the shadows again. Light footsteps rushed across the roof. 2, 3, 4 figures moved past each other, like they were circling him. From above, Rylan spoke in a steady voice. "I do not want to fight, I only need answers." No reply came. Instead, the wind shifted again. The scent grew stronger. So strong it filled his head like a fog. He felt dizzy for a moment, not weak, just overwhelmed. Like standing too close to a powerful storm. From the corner of his eye, he saw another shape slip behind a broken wagon. Another near the water tower. Another at the far end of the street. They were surrounding him, slowly, quietly, smartly. Rylan took a deep breath. His hand tightened on his weapon. He did not raise it. Not yet. He waited. The sand beside him shifted. Soft steps. Someone was approaching from behind. He turned to look. This time the figure did not run. She stepped out of the shadows. Green skin, long red hair, eyes glowing like living jewels. She stared at him in silence. No fear, no anger, only calm control. Rylan felt his heartbeat slow. He felt danger, but he also felt something else, something ancient, something powerful. The first member of the Green Clan had revealed herself, but she was not alone. More shapes gathered behind her. Soft footsteps filled the air. The silent town was no longer empty. It belonged to them, and now they had surrounded their human visitor. Captain Ryland stood frozen as the green-skinned woman stepped into the light. Her skin glowed softly like moonlight on smooth stone. Her long red hair moved gently in the desert breeze. Her eyes were bright and sharp like living emeralds watching. Every detail of his body and mind Ryland did not move. He kept his hands where she could see them. She did not speak. She only watched him with a calm and powerful stare. The silence between them felt heavy like two storms facing each other on open ground. Then the air shifted again. Soft steps approached from behind her. Another green-skinned woman appeared, then another and another, until 5 stood around Ryland in a half-circle. They looked alike, same face, same height, same glowing eyes, like sisters born from the same ancient fire. Ryland felt the weight of their presence push against the air around him. He felt like he had stepped into the center of a ritual, a test or a judgment. The first sister stepped forward. She moved with slow and perfect grace. Every step silent, every motion smooth like water flowing across stone. She raised her hand slightly. Not in attack, not in peace, something in between. A gesture that warned him to stay still, but not to fear. Ryland nodded slowly, his voice low and steady. I am not your enemy. I only seek answers. The sisters did not reply. They exchanged silent looks as if speaking through their eyes alone. Ryland felt small under their gaze, not weak, but small, like they were seeing everything inside him. His memories, his fears, his strength. The second sister stepped closer. Her green skin shimmered when the sunlight touched it. She leaned her head slightly to one side, studying him like a puzzle. She did not blink. Her stare was deep, ancient, almost. Was Ryland swallowed? He tried to read her, but her face showed nothing, not anger, not kindness, only quiet focus. The third sister moved behind him. Ryland felt her presence before he heard her steps. A cold shiver crawled up his back. She was close enough for him to feel her breath on his neck, but she did not touch him. She stood there in silence, guarding, watching. The fourth sister lifted her hand and touched the glowing symbols carved into the wooden wall beside her. The symbols lit brighter green. Light flowed across the wall like living vines. Ryland felt a pulse pass through the ground, through the air, through his chest. Like the town itself reacted to her touch. The fifth sister walked to the side, her eyes locked on him with sharp interest. She studied his weapon, his armor, his stance, evaluating him like a warrior judges another warrior. Ryland felt surrounded, but not by chaos, by precision, by purpose. These were not wild aliens. They were trained, disciplined, connected in a way humans could not understand. Finally, the first sister opened her mouth, her voice soft but strong. You walk in our home, human. Ryland nodded. I did not know. The town looked empty. Nothing is empty here, she replied, her green eyes pierced into him. You only see what we allow. Ryland felt a chill. He believed her. Every shadow he saw, every whisper he heard, every footprint in the sand, all of it. They controlled it. They had been watching him since he stepped onto the planet. The second sister stepped closer. Her hand hovered near his chest, not touching, just close. She studied the beat of his heart, like she could hear it without sound. You are alone, she said, her tone flat, not a question. A fat yes, Ryland answered. The sisters exchanged another silent look. Their movements matched perfectly, as if they shared one mind, one thought, one purpose. The first sister asked, why does a human warrior come here? Ryland took a slow breath. He had trained for dangerous missions. He had faced alien beasts. He had battled pirates and raiders, but this felt different, strange, important. I came for information, he said. People vanished from this world. They left no message, no reason, no trace. The sisters looked at each other again. The air around them grew heavier. The fourth sister tapped her glowing symbol. Green light raced across the sand like roots, searching for truth. You will see, the first sister finally said, her eyes bright, her voice calm. But first, you must understand, this frontier does not belong to humans. It belongs to us. Ryland felt the weight of her words. A warning, a truth, a claim. The 5 sisters stepped closer. Their circle tightened around him. Not to harm, but to trap him in their presence, to show him he had no escape. Their eyes glowed brighter now the wind grew still. The entire town felt like it was holding its breath. Rylan stood tall, his heart steady. He would not run. He would not show fear. Whatever the green-skinned clan wanted, they were ready to reveal it. And it would change everything. Captain Rylan stood in the middle of the circle formed by the 5 green-skinned sisters. The air around him felt heavy and tight, like an invisible wall slowly closing around him. The sisters did not speak. They watched him with calm faces and glowing eyes, each one silent, each one steady, each one judging him without a single word. Rylan tried to control his breathing. This was no normal meeting, no simple first contact. This felt like a silent trial, a test, a moment that could decide his fate on this strange frontier world. The first sister stepped closer. Her eyes locked onto his as if trying to see through his skin and into his thoughts. The heat of the sun did not seem to touch her. She looked cool, calm, untouched by fear or doubt. Rylan held her gaze. He refused to look away. He had learned as a soldier that eye contact was power, strength, refusal to submit. But her stare was different. It felt ancient, old as the desert itself, steady enough to shake even a seasoned warrior like him. The second sister moved to his right. Her steps were slow and silent. She circled him with the smooth motion of a predator studying its prey. Her gaze slid across his armor and his weapon, not with fear, but with interest, like she was memorizing every detail, every weakness, every strength. The third sister moved behind him. Rylan did not turn. He felt her presence like a cold wave down his spine. She stood very close. Close enough for him to feel her breath on the back of his neck, but she never touched him. Her silence was louder than any threat. The fourth sister raised her hand. She touched the glowing symbols on the wooden walls. Again the green light spread like living vines. Energy hummed softly in the air. Rylan felt it move through his boots, up his legs, into his chest. It felt like the planet itself was watching him, not just the sisters. The fifth sister stepped forward. Her eyes were sharper than the others. She looked at him like she already knew who was, where he came from, what he feared, what he desired, as if she had studied humans for many years. Rylan felt sweat sliding down the side of his face. The heat was not from the sun. It came from their presence, their pressure, their silent power. The first sister finally spoke, her voice soft but strong. "Why do you stand in our land? Why do you walk our forgotten dust?" Rylan answered in the steady voice. "I came to search for missing people. Humans vanished from this place. I was sent to find them." The sisters exchanged silent looks, long looks, deep looks, their eyes glowing brighter, as if his words touched a secret they guarded. The second sister stepped closer. Her feet made no sound. Her hair moved like small flames around her shoulders. She spoke softly. "No humans belong here anymore." Rylan tensed. "What happened to them?" he asked. The third sister behind him whispered a single word, "Gone, gone." Where Rylan asked, his voice low, his heart tight. The sisters did not reply. They only stared, their eyes glowing stronger, their faces still calm, but something in their silence felt dangerous, heavy, dark. Rylan placed his hand near his weapon, not to attack, but to feel something familiar. Something solid in this strange world. The fifth sister noticed his motion. She stepped closer, her voice soft. "You fear us," Rylan answered. "I fear what I do not understand." "Good," she said. "Fear keeps you alive." The first sister raised her hand slightly. The others stepped back in perfect unity. Their movements matched like reflections in a mirror. Rylan watched them carefully. Every step they took felt like a message, a signal, a plan. The first sister spoke again. "You entered our land without permission. You disrupted the silence we guard. You touched our symbols. You walked our path. You woke the old spirits." Rylan frowned. "I woke what?" The first sister held out her hand. The green light from the symbols pulsed stronger. The sand around their feet shifted in slow circles, like something beneath the surface was moving, listening, waiting. "You woke the desert," she said. Her voice low. Rylan felt a cold chill. He had no idea what she meant, but he knew it was not good. The air grew even heavier. The sisters stared at him with the same unreadable expression. No anger, no fear, only deep control. The first sister stepped close. Enough for him to feel her warmth. She leaned forward slightly, her eyes locked on his. You stand here between peace and danger. One wrong move, one wrong breath, and the desert will answer. Rylan swallowed, his voice steady. Then tell me what you want. Sisters all turned their heads at the same moment, their glowing eyes scanning the horizon. The sweet scent in the air changed. It grew sharper, stronger. First sister lifted her chin. Now you must see, she said. Her words felt like the final warning. Before something new, something powerful, something terrifying would arrive. The desert wind shifted suddenly, as if the world took a sharp breath. Captain Rylan felt the air change around him. The sisters all turned their heads toward the far horizon. Their glowing eyes narrowed. Their bodies tensed in perfect unity. No words. Only silent readiness, as if they sensed something powerful coming long before he could hear or see anything. Rylan looked toward the horizon. The sky shimmered with strange heat waves. A thin line of dust lifted from the ground in a slow rising motion. He stared harder. The dust line grew wider, darker, heavier. Something was moving fast beneath it. Something large. The first sister stepped to his side. Her voice soft. It is coming. What is coming? Rylan asked, his hand tightening on his weapon. A danger. You cannot fight alone, she answered. The second sister placed her hand on the sand. Her fingers sank slightly into the warm grains. She closed her eyes. Rylan watched her with confusion. Why touch the ground? What did she feel? She opened her eyes again. Her expression serious. It is hunting. Rylan felt another chill run down his spine. What hunts you? Or hunts me? The third sister walked behind him. Her voice barely above a whisper. Both the dust cloud grew taller. It stretched across the entire desert. Lined like a rising wall, Rylan felt the ground vibrate under his boots, soft at first, then stronger, like heavy steps pounding from a great distance. Fourth sister tapped a glowing symbol on her arm. Green light spread across her skin, shimmering. Like waves, energy pulsed around her. Rylan stepped back slightly. He could feel the heat from the glow. It was not normal heat. It felt alive. Fifth sister spoke without turning her head. You woke the desert. Now the desert answers. Rylan felt a weight in his chest, a warning, a truth he did not understand. What did I wake? Tell me. First sister did not answer. Her eyes locked on the moving dust. She lifted her staff from her back. The staff glowed the same green color as the symbol she planted. The end of it into the sand. A pulse of green energy spread out in a circle around them. Rylan stepped backward in shock. What was that? He had never seen anything like it. The first sister spoke. Old things sleep beneath this land. Your arrival, your voice, your heartbeat, your footsteps. All of it awakened them. Rylan stared at her, confusion twisted inside him. You mean I caused this? I did not come to harm anyone. I only came to find missing people. The second sister pointed to the desert. Look, this is why they vanish. Rylan looked again. The dust cloud roared higher. The ground trembled harder. He could hear distant thuds, slow, heavy, but massive. Like giant footsteps pounding through miles of sand. He felt fear. Not fear of the sisters, fear of whatever was coming. The third sister stepped closer. Her eyes glowed brighter. You must choose. Choose what? Rylan asked. The fourth sister answered, run and die, or stand with us. Rylan looked at them. 5 green-skinned sisters, 5 glowing eyes staring into the unknown. 5 warriors of a world he barely understood. They already escaped from the shadows. They already tested him, and now they offer him a choice, a strange choice, a hard choice. Fight with them, or face something deadly alone. The dust cloud finally broke its shape. Dark forms moved inside it. Large, armored, monstrous. Their shapes shifted like huge beasts crawling through the storm. The sound of their growls reached them deep, heavy, like thunder trapped inside the earth. Rylan felt the vibration in his bones. What are they? He asked, his voice lower, now more serious. The first sister answered, guardians of the deep sand, hunters of any who wake them. They do not stop. They do not fear. They do not forget. Rylan swallowed hard. He felt the ground shake. Again, closer, stronger. The beasts were coming. The fifth sister stepped in front of him, her face close, her eyes bright. Fight with us, human. Fight or fall. Rylan looked at the forming storm, looked at the sisters, looked at the glowing symbols pulsing. In the sand he had no choice now. The desert had woken, and danger was coming fast. He nodded slowly. I stand with you. Sisters all took one strong step forward, their bodies aligned, their green symbols glowing brighter, their energy rising like flames. First sister raised her staff, her voice strong. Then prepare, warrior. The desert has come for blood. The ground shook again. The dust wall roared. The monsters inside it rushed closer. Raylan tightened his grip on his weapon. The sisters steadied their stance. The hidden threat was no longer hidden. It was coming. The desert shook harder as the creatures moved closer. Captain Rylan felt the vibration climb through his boots and settle deep in his bones. The sisters stood tall around him, their glowing skin brightening with each passing second. They looked like warriors ready for a sacred battle, silent, focused. Without fear, Rylan knew that whatever approached was not normal, not natural, not something any human soldier could face alone. He looked at the sisters. For the first time he did not see them as mysterious watchers. He saw them as protectors of their world, warriors of old magic, guardians of secrets buried beneath the sand. The first sister looked at him with sharp, glowing eyes. If you fight beside us, you must trust us, she said. You must follow our steps, our signals, our breath, or the desert will take you. Raylan nodded slowly. Trust was not easy for him, but he had no choice. What do I do? He asked. The second sister stepped forward. Her hand rested on the sand. You stand in the center, you guard the heart, you watch our backs. Rylan hesitated. I watch your backs. Why not stand with you at the front? Because the third sister whispered, you are the one the desert wants first. Her words sent a cold wave across his skin. Why me? He asked. The fifth sister answered, your arrival awakened the sand. It smells your blood, your breath, your steps. It hunts you. Raylan felt a tight knot form in his stomach. He did not understand their magic or their way of life, but he understood one thing. Something ancient wanted him dead. The dust wall grew closer. The thunder-like growls grew louder. Rylan could see shapes moving inside the storm, massive bodies, armored skin, sharp limbs that cut the air. The creatures were almost upon them. The fourth sister lifted her arms. Green light poured from her palms. It spread like thin waves across the ground. The sand responded. It lifted, shifted, formed a glowing ring around them, a barrier of energy and desert magic. Raylan stared in awe. How are you doing this? The first sister answered without looking at him. We are children of this land, born from its breath, raised by its storms. You came with hard metal and human pride, but here magic breathes deeper than your machines. The ground shook again. The beast stepped into view, huge bodies taller than buildings, bodies covered in thick plates of stone-like armor, eyes glowing gold with rage, mouths filled with jagged bone like teeth. Rylan swallowed. His heart hammered inside his chest. How do we fight these? The second sister spoke, not with fear, with rhythm, with unity, with the land. She stepped forward, her feet touching the sand in a slow, deliberate pattern. The others mirrored her, their steps forming a strange dance, a dance Rylan did not understand, but the desert did. The sand shifted again. It rose around their feet, glowing brighter, circling them like living fire. Raylan held his weapon tight. He kept his breathing steady. He watched the sisters. He tried to copy their stance. He tried to feel the rhythm in the ground. He tried to let the desert guide him. The first creature roared. The sound echoed across the land like a storm breaking the sky. The sisters did not flinch. They stood firm, green light glowing brighter on their skin, their eyes like burning jewels. The first sister raised her staff. Her voice lifted, now human. Stand with us. Let the desert hear your courage. Rylan stepped forward, his body shaking, his heart thundering. He lifted his weapon. He faced the roaring beast with the sisters at his sides. The creature charged. The ground thundered. Sand exploded upward. Rylan took a deep breath. This was no longer about missing people. No longer about a simple mission. This was survival. This was unity. This was war. The sisters all shouted one powerful cry. Their voices merged into one sound, a command to the land itself. Green. Energy burst upward, the sand obeyed. It became a shield, a wave of force. Rylan felt it too, a spark in his chest. A push from the desert, a call to stand strong. He shouted, a roar from deep inside. A cry of pure human defiance. The dust storm cracked. The beast lunged forward. The battle had begun. Human and alien, warrior and clan bound in a fragile forced alliance. The desert watched, the sand listened, and the fate of all of them hung in the next heartbeat. The first beast charged with thunder in its steps. Captain Rylan braced himself. The sisters tightened their stance. The sand around them glowed brighter, as if it sensed the coming impact. The air trembled, the ground shook, the desert itself felt alive. Rylan lifted his weapon. The sisters raised their glowing hands. Time slowed for a moment. Every breath felt louder. Every heartbeat felt heavier. The creature broke through the dust wall. Its massive body towered above them. Its stone armor cracked with glowing lines of gold. Its eyes shone with fire. Its roar shook the sky. The first sister slammed the end of her staff into the sand. A wave of green energy exploded outward. It hit the beast in the chest. The creature stumbled, but it did not fall. Its body was too powerful, too heavy, too ancient. The second sister rushed forward, her hands glowing brighter than before. She pressed her palms to the ground. The sand rose up in sharp spikes. They slammed into the creature, but the spikes shattered. Like fragile glass. Rylan felt fear crawl up his spine. He had fought many enemies in his life, but nothing like this. Nothing so massive. Nothing so unstoppable. The beast roared again. It lifted one giant claw. It swung it down toward the sisters. Rylan moved without thinking. He jumped forward. He raised his weapon. He blocked the strike. The impact sent him flying back. His body hit the sand hard. Pain exploded through his chest. He coughed. He pushed himself back up. He had no time to stay down. Beast was coming again. The third sister appeared beside him, her eyes glowing fiercely. You must stand, she said. If you fall, we fall. Rylan forced himself onto his feet. He gripped his weapon tighter. His legs shook, but he did not back down. The fourth sister called out, look at the horizon. Rylan turned his head. More dust clouds rose in the distance. Not one, not two, but many dozens. Maybe hundreds. Rylan felt his breath freeze. More of them, he whispered. The first sister nodded. Yes, this is only the first guardian. Rylan stared at the massive creature in front of them. If this was only the first, what were the others like? The beast roared again. It charged. The fifth sister stepped forward, her skin glowing like burning emerald. She raised her arms. A giant swirl of green light formed around her. It spun like a storm. It rose like fire. She thrust her hands forward. The light shot out like a giant wave. The wave hit the beast. This time the beast slid back. Its claws dug trenches into the sand. Roared in pain, but it did not fall. Rylan stepped beside the sisters. He shouted, we need more. This is not enough. The first sister looked at him, her voice deep and steady. Then you must give your strength. Human. Rylan stared at her. My strength? How? Place your hands on the sand. Let the desert hear your heartbeat. Give it your fire. Give it your fear. Give it your spirit. Rylan hesitated, but he felt the ground shaking harder. More creatures were coming. The sisters were growing tired. Their glowing skin flickered. Their breaths grew sharper. He knelt. He placed both hands on the sand. The ground felt hot, alive, like it was breathing. He closed his eyes. He felt the desert. He felt the rumble of beasts. He felt the pulse of ancient magic. He felt the sisters standing beside him. Then something answered him, a deep echo inside the earth. A pulse, a heartbeat that did not belong to him, or the sisters, or any creature he knew. The desert reached out to him. It pulled at his energy. It asked for more. It demanded. Rylan cried out. The sand around him burst into green flames. The sisters stepped back in shock, their eyes wide. The first sister whispered. He awakened the core. He did what no human ever could. Rylan opened his eyes. Green light reflected in his pupils. Desert responded to him. It listened to him. It accepted him. The beast roared again. It charged, faster, angrier, stronger. Rylan stood. The green flames swirled around him. His body glowed, his heartbeat echoed in the sand. The sisters watched him with awe. And fear. Rylan raised his hand. The desert answered. A giant wall of green sand rose behind him. It rose higher, taller, stronger. It crashed forward like a living wave. The beast roared, the wave hit. The world exploded in green light when the dust settled. A deep silence filled the air. Too still, too quiet. The sisters stepped forward, their eyes searching the glowing cloud. The first sister whispered, "Is he alive?" The wind shifted. A figure moved inside the fading smoke, a green glow still wrapped around. A silhouette. The sisters stared in shock. The world held its breath. The figure stepped into view. The desert was not done with him yet.